1998, Doug has trained thousands of loan officers and real estate agents around the country. Doug has trained for companies such as Countrywide, Capital One, Wells Fargo, Morgan Stanley, Exit Realty, Staten Island Board of Realtors, Brooklyn Board of Realtors, Bronx Board of Realtors, and countless other organizations. Doug has been called the Enter-Trainer by many students. He weaves fun and learning into a great experience. Doug has authored Credit Smart, as well as a full-blown loan officer training boot camp. Please help me in welcoming to the stage your trainer for the day, Doug Vairo.
I wonder who wrote that. That's pretty good. I see a lot of faces from yesterday too. Welcome back. All right, so let's start. Good morning.
How you doing?
That's what I'm talking about. See, you were in the class yesterday. All right, anybody here ever have family or live in Brooklyn, Queens, five boroughs area? Because southern New Jersey is very similar. So I travel around the country, and when I say good morning, I teach them how we say it here. I'm going to say, how you doing? I want everybody here, nice and loud, lots of attitude. Take these two fingers and go, how you doing? You ready? Hold on. I'm going to say it first. All right. How you doing?
How you doing?
You know, most people think all Italians are in the mafia, but I'm here to tell you that's not true. That's because most of us are in the witness protection program. Would you like one more joke before we start?
Yes.
Okay. How come Italians don't like Jehovah's Witnesses? Because Italians don't like any kind of witness. Okay. I thought you guys would know that. All right, well, welcome to today's class. Today we're going to talk about credit. I'll talk a little bit about credit repair. I wrote a book on it called Credit Smart many years ago. I had outstanding credit as a young man. I owned a couple of businesses, lived down in Florida. And unfortunately, through divorce and then major illness that I was on my back for almost a year, I pretty much lost everything. Insurance didn't cover everything. I had a lot of outstanding debts on my businesses and so forth. And I had a choice to claim bankruptcy, or, since I wasn't doing anything, I had an illness called Guillain-Barré syndrome. Anybody ever hear of that?
No.
Who said yes?
Me, but I don't know who had it.
Okay, so Bell's palsy. A lot of people know Bell's palsy, right?
Yeah.
Half your face gets paralyzed. Yeah. I had a cold one day, and it wound up attacking my nervous system, and I was paralyzed, where if this eye was looking at you, this eye was looking over here. And so I couldn't walk hardly, and I got rid of my house down in Florida and all that stuff. And I said, you know, I could claim bankruptcy, but you know what? Since I'm not really doing much of anything, can't drive, I might as well see what I could do about working on my credit. I know my credit's going to be going bad. Let me see what I can do, if there's anything out there that can help me work on my credit, learn about credit, because I had great credit. I owned a few businesses. I knew I could always get whatever credit I wanted, but I didn't really know all the details behind it. So I started buying some books, $10 book, $25 book, whatever it is, on what to do if your credit goes south. And the first book that I read said what you should do is create a new identity. I was like, I'm Italian. I kind of like that idea. No, that sounds a little shady and illegal. Would you agree? I said, I don't want to do that. I want to do the right thing. Well, in some of the books that I was reading, it said things like this. If you're working with a collection agency or a creditor that you owe money, what you do is you send in a check and you take a magnet and you run the check along the bottom of the magnet. It will, along the check, it'll demagnetize the check so they can't cash it. How do you like that one? Then it said, don't sign your name, sign Mickey Mouse. They can't cash it. How do you like that one? Then another book said, what you do is in that memo spot. By the way, some of you guys are so young, you don't know what a check is. I probably should draw out on the board what a check is. But on the bottom, you know where it says memo, so you could write a note on. In the old days, we used to get our checks back even. It said right in there, let's say you owe somebody $2,500. Pay them $150 or something, so it's a check they're going to want to cash, and put in the memo, this is, who said that?
Payment in full.
That's right, paid in full. And that's like a legal contract. Well, they've changed all those things since then. Anyway, so I read all of these books, and so many of them were, you know, get an employee identification number so you got a new credit report. I said, I don't want to do any of that. So I probably had about 15 creditors from credit cards and everything else that I was owing money. And remember, I'm walking around, I couldn't hardly walk. I couldn't crush a plastic cup with my hand. I had to put my mattress on the floor. So I said, all right, let me read. So I went to a class. A guy came around the country. He was selling credit and real estate, $495 for his course. Anybody here ever spend $495 on a course, right? Sometimes you get a lot of magic out of it, sometimes not. When I first moved down to Florida and was married, I bought a book from a real estate agent, real estate guy that was coming around for $495. And the reason why I bought his package was not so much about the real estate. It was that he had a book in there that I really wanted to read. It was all about negotiating. And so while I'm living down in Florida, make a long story short, I had a guy that used to come in that was a retired auctioneer from up north in Minnesota. And he used to make copies in my store. And he used to tell me all the time, Doug, I want to make you an auctioneer. I'm like, come on, Larry. I can't do this stuff. I'm from New York. I can't have the... So he gives me a check for $7,500. He says, would you make a copy of that? He said, I just made $7,500. I said, what? He said, I was up in Minnesota last weekend. They gave me $7,500. I said, how much of that is yours? He goes, no, that's the whole thing. I made 15%. I'm like, wow. He comes back another month later. He's got another check for $7,500. I says, teach me how to be an auctioneer. So I learned to be an auctioneer for $69. He sold me his book. Then I bought this package for $495 that had negotiating in it. Anybody know what a red herring is when you're negotiating? So let's see. What's your name, sir?
Earl.
You got to think about that, Earl?
No. Your finger was a little pointed when you were going like this.
Oh, it's still crooked? Okay, I got you. All right, so Earl. So Earl, let's say that you and I are sitting down to write out a contract, negotiate on points.
Yep.
Fair enough? You're going to say there's certain things that you don't like in my contract?
Yep.
Yeah.
You want me to take those out? I'm going to want you to take... So
Sure.
red herrings are this. I have 10 or 15 things that I really want. How many things do you think I put in there?
25.
About 30 or 40, right? 25. Another 10 or 15 things that I don't care about at all. Oh, what?
Misdirection. Yep.
Yeah. So listen, if you take that out of your contract, I'll take these 3 things out for you. Would that be good? Just 3 things I could...
Yep. You bet.
So I become an auctioneer. Never did an auction in my life. I just had learned, did some charity auctions. I read in the paper, Bernard Santinello runs away with $300 million in a Ponzi scheme, a real estate Ponzi scheme. A lot of the lawyers, a lot of doctors, a lot of major people in Port Charlotte, Florida, where I lived, lost money in this thing. So it says on the front page of Port Charlotte News, this attorney is going to auction off everything from this guy has. So I call up. I get the receptionist or his paralegal on the phone, and I said, have you started calling auction companies yet? She goes, no. I says, well, why would you call the rest when you got the best? She says, okay, I want you to meet the attorney. I can't remember his name. He must have came in a $2,500 suit, monogrammed, everything. We met at a diner somewhere not in Sarasota, in what's between Port Charlotte and Sarasota, whatever the town is, Northport. We met there. We sat down. I put things in that contract. Anybody ever been to an auction? The auctioneer usually pays for the help, you pay for the advertising, you just make your 10 or 15%. I put down I'm making my 10%, or my 15%. You're going to pay for the help, you're going to pay for the advertising, you're going to do this, you're going to do that, you're going to do that. He's going down a contract. He's like, okay, I'm going, yeah! He gets to 10% buyer's premium I put in there. Anybody know what that is? If you bid $100 on something, I'm getting $15 from him because I get 15%. 10% buyer's premium means you pay 10% more, so you pay $110. I not only get the $15 from him, I get the $10 from you, right? He says, no, what is that? I told him what it was. He says, no, you can't have that. Oh, like, okay. Anyway, that one-day auction, my check was $7,600 for me. How's that, pretty good?
Nice.
All because I read that book for $495. Now, my wife at the time was upset that I spent $495 on that book. And I said, honey, don't look at it that I'm spending money. I'm investing money in my knowledge and my future. And when I showed her the $7,600 check, I never saw it again. But it's a nice check, right? So getting back to when I was sick, I had my businesses. I'm getting divorced. Everything is crashing and burning. I'm sick. I wound up buying another person's book that had a credit thing in there. And it was all about the Fair Credit Reporting Act of 1974. Prior to 1974, we were not able in any way to look at our credit, to see what was in there. Now, today, we're allowed to fight what's in there. Fair enough? So today, I'm going to teach you many, many things about your FICO score, about what site you can go to look for things. I'll teach you about people that shop around for mortgages and car loans, even for yourself. So you guys are going to learn a lot of things here today that not only you'll be able to help with your customers and your clients, but you'll be able to help yourself and who else? Your children, right? Who thinks that they're going to live forever? I got bad news for you, buddy. You might feel like you're going to live forever, but when you're 17, 18, 19, 20 years old, you think you're going to live forever and nothing's a problem. And who screws up their credit more than anybody? Young people, right? So we'll learn today how we can overcome that and help them. Would that be good? Would that be good? Yeah. Right? All right. So do me a favor, somebody in the back. Would you just pop your head out there? I didn't see any water up here. Would you ask them to bring in a couple of bottles of water for me? Thank you so much. I appreciate that. All right. So let's just take a second. Yes? Oh, awesome.